New hardware from any company is always exciting. We get to see the latest advancements in technology and design, building excitement for new products. Now, Google I/O was a couple of weeks ago, and Google showed off a lot of hardware. I mean, a lot. We saw the Pixel 6a, Pixel Buds Pro, Pixel Watch, Pixel 7, and even a Pixel tablet that is coming in 2023. Now, so much hardware at an event that's usually catered towards software is unusual, especially for Google. I can only recount in the past maybe 1 or 2 times where Google announced new hardware at Google I/O, which is mainly focused on developers. I previously made a video where I talked about why Google needed to develop its own ecosystem to rival Apple and Samsung. Pretty much that they needed to build more hardware that worked together seamlessly and cohesively to make the end user experience better. But this had me thinking, with so much that Google announced, is it too late for them to develop a hardware lineup? Well, let's find out. Google has always been like the little engine that could when it comes to smartphones, chugging along but never really getting much traction. Historically, Google has continuously put out hardware that is great, but more times than not, flawed. But this may just be changing. See, with the release of the Pixel 6 series last year, Google was able to quadruple their market share in the smartphone industry to a whopping 4%. Now, this pales in comparison to Apple and Samsung, who hold 51 and 27% respectively, but by releasing more hardware, Google may be able to close the gap and gain some of that market share. So, how do you do that? Well, you announce and pre-announce as much hardware as possible. And this effectively does 2 things. Number 1, it builds excitement for the new hardware that Google is developing, but also it gets ahead of some of the leaks that Google is notoriously known for. I mean, look at the Pixel 4 and what happened with that. But that still begs the question, why wait till now? Why just now enter the hardware game like with some kind of seriousness as they release more Pixel products? In large part, the answer lies with these 2 men, Sundar Pichai and Rick Osterloh. One being the current CEO of Google, who came along in 2016, and the other being Google's version of Tim Cook. Together, these 2 have changed the trajectory of how Google makes phones and other smart products. And through trial and error, Google has slowly been figuring out what works and what doesn't. So one example being Pixel 2 XL, which was kind of like peak Pixel, while on the other side you had Project Soli in the Pixel 4 series that never really went anywhere. All of that eventually came to a head with the release of the Pixel 6 and Pixel 6 Pro. Products that were Google's first real test run into having legit hardware, almost as if it were a soft relaunch or reboot of the phone. Now, although it had a rough start, I've used this phone continuously for the better part of 7 months, and it's kind of turned into something special. Right now, I'm currently running the Android 13 Beta 2, and even though it's a beta and it has some slight bugs, I really love the Pixel experience. It's, to me, the best version of Android that you could find on a phone. In addition, Google has worked out many of the bugs that plagued many people at the launch of this phone, so now they're probably in a place where they can move forward and focus on the hardware and getting out other devices to support it. Also, Google's mission has never really been about selling phones. Their mission has always been about pushing the boundaries of innovation and really pushing into machine learning and AI. So that's why you see a lot of the smart features that Google has developed over the years on their Pixel phones. And although some of the newly announced products look very similar to what's already found in Apple and Samsung's ecosystem, I'm sure that Google is adding some nice googly features that will make these products fun and interesting to the end consumer. Google's main thing has been that they are able to bring interesting and fun features to their devices, such as call screening and hold for me, all of the things that really make the Pixel experience, and it would be nice to see those on other devices like the Pixel Watch, Pixel Buds Pro, and so on. And more specifically, if we look at the Pixel Buds Pro, they look like a proper competitor in the wireless earbud sector. They include such things as automatic noise cancellation, and they are touting 11 hours of battery life per listen, so longer battery life. But they may also have smart features from the Google Assistant, like live translation built in, that may make them a little bit more useful. And then you have the device that most people are probably interested in, the Pixel Watch, which not only will have its own unique version of Wear OS, but also have Fitbit integration, which once again will make the product more useful. Now don't get me wrong, I'm excited to see all of this new hardware coming out over the next year or so, but it still has me wondering, is it too late for Google to get in the game and really be able to capture some of that market share from some of its competitors? I mean, as great as some of their products are, they're still being released almost 8 years after Apple developed its ecosystem and then Samsung kind of followed suit. And I'm gonna be honest, they really have some competition on their hands. Apple and Samsung do hardware really, really well. But maybe it's not too late. I mean, we're at a point where we're seeing what looks like more and more stagnation in the smartphone and smart device industry. And the fact that Google always does something interesting by pushing innovation leads me to believe that maybe we'll see some really interesting and fun features that come on these devices. I mean, people are looking for something that feels familiar, but also fresh at the same time. And I think Google is one of the few companies that have the ability to do that. Google has probably more money to sink into their hardware division, whether it succeeds or not, probably than any other company out there. So if you make a good product, people will come.
If you build it, he will come.
In essence, if their products come with good specs and are built to last a consumer anywhere from 3 to 5 years, well then Google may slowly begin to see people switching over and trying the Pixel experience on their phones and other devices. Pixel Watch needs to have great software and battery life. Pixel Buds Pro need to be comfortable and not have any connectivity issues, and even though we don't know much about the Pixel 7, Google needs to show that they have worked hard at improving Tensor. Show us why it's necessary for this chip to exist outside of the branding and being able to say that Google made its own chip. I want to see Tensor 2 be vastly better than what we got on the Pixel 6 and the Pixel 6 Pro. And then in addition, just continue to develop unique, helpful features that make our lives better in some way, shape, or form. Continue to put those features out on your Pixel devices and market those for the other devices that may come in the ecosystem later down the road. Google is on the right track, they just have arrived at the party way later than everybody else.
Thank you, Helen. I just feel like I'm excited and I feel relaxed and I'm ready to party with the...
But let me know down in the comments, is it too late for Google's hardware? And if it's not, what are you most excited to try when Google finally releases it? I would love to talk about it down in the comments. But that's gonna do it for this one. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.